So, okay, I'm going to go over like kind of the game plan and the structure for this challenge. It is based on the curriculum. Now, I'm going to some of the stuff I'm going to go over more informally, or a little quicker, and so you can always like I might refer to some of these sections, and you could always watch them and learn. But I really want to, for the purpose of this challenge and these workshops, is to kind of get to the heart of the matter for each section. And the first thing we want to do is we're going to understand like what is the business model. you know how do we make money in this business, and how do you kind of calculate the ways to make money. And then we're going to talk about picking a niche versus being a generalist, and how to research and how to create products and value for those niches. And then we're going to talk about branding. And then once you have your branding set up, then we'll talk about setting up your business, which is very simple. And then we're going to go over collateral assets, which is basically everything that you need to go out and sell. And then we really are going to dive into the sales process, which is the biggest section. And then marketing and project management, client management, networking. But really, by the time you have learned your sales process, this is where you're going to get the most progress, and is going to most directly affect your business and your monthly income. Because for me, especially now, from most of my career until now, I don't do much marketing in the traditional marketing sense. My income really comes from sales, and then relationship building, and just working really hard, and making sure my clients are happy, and then that ends up building a accumulated, like, kind of compounding interest of reputation that allows me to get referrals and things like that. So like just this past for you guys, when you're starting out, you're going to have to go through certain stages, and then once you have enough work in your portfolio, then you will start noticing that you're just getting tons of referrals, and you'll have to do less of the cold outreach. You know what I mean? But in the beginning, you have to be willing to do the cold outreach, because it's just an important part of sales. And the way I'm going to teach it, it's not going to feel like cold outreach, in the sense that it's not like some slimy like technique, or it's everything I teach is very natural and organic, and is based on your personality and how, like, working with you. Obviously you want to push yourself and get out of your comfort zone, but I do believe that people should always work authentically to who they are. And when I reach out to people, I never feel bad, because I'm just trying to actually add value to people's lives, right? And when I talk with somebody, I'm really trying to think how to make their business better. And I think if you come from a place like that, then you really don't feel bad when you reach out to people, because you're going to help them. You want to help them. You know what I mean? I think too often people treat sales like your clients are just like targets, and you got to like hit them. And then, and a lot of sales environments focus more on the getting the sale than the providing the value for the client. Right. So I think of the sales as just part of the process of creating value for a client. And so when you kind of mentally shift, then it's going to change your relationship with the sales process, if that makes sense. Because I know, like, as videographers and filmmakers and stuff, we're more artistic than the average, like, salesperson or entrepreneur. Right. Like, if you really just cared about money, there's so many other things you could do with your life, right? Like, you could do real estate, you could sell financial instruments, cars, whatever. The point is, we want to build a business that is also a lifestyle, right? Because we want to have a camera in our hands, or we want to manage video projects, or we want to work work creatively with clients, and we want to tell stories and enjoy our life, like, while we're doing it, which is why I actually think videography is like one of the most amazing jobs and businesses once you get started. Neil said crypto. Yeah, I wouldn't, I'm not against crypto. I'm definitely into blockchain and all that. I'm actually looking at NFTs now, of because doing some art and stuff like that. But even that is not just to cash in on something. Like, I'm actually really interested in the art form. But anyways, so the point is, like, each section that we go through, I'm going to work with you on the mentality so that we help shape the right perspective going into these things. And then what I learned in my career is that every breakthrough that I ever had came from shifting my mentality. You know what I mean? Like every breakthrough I ever had came from getting my mind straight on certain issues. I think a lot of times people get caught up in the technical aspects or the mechanical aspects of sales or marketing or outreach and stuff like that, and that's what causes this anxiety, because you just feel like you don't even know why you're doing something, right? And you're just doing it because you think it's going to get you to this goal. But that's not really the way it works. Like the more that you get the right mentality, then the further along you're going to be in terms of not just achieving your goals, but being really satisfied while you do it. So any questions so far?
No question, but I just want to say I really respect that you say you're teaching us mentality, not just strategy, steps, and all that.
Yeah, I mean, it really is all about mentality. I mean, so when I started out, I had nobody teaching me, and I went through the most pain. Every plateau was incredible pain, and depression, and challenging myself, and when I started out, I mean, I was doing wedding videos for free, what I mean? And then my first challenge was like, how do I get somebody to pay me? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And then that was hard. And then I was like just putting up posts on Craigslist and doing whatever I could. And then I'm doing like $200 weddings or $500 weddings, and getting my butt kicked. And that feeling when you work like 40 hours on something and then you get paid like nothing for it, and you've like killed yourself. And then I remember my breaking point was I did a wedding for it was a mom, and she was more bridezilla than the bride. She's the one that hired me, but then she kept I didn't even deal with the bride, and so she kept asking me to put more footage of her until literally the point there was no more footage of her. And I'm like, I didn't film you that much because it's not your wedding. And then and I had spent so much time. I think it was like 80 hours or something. Like when I calculated, because that was like one of the first jobs, I was like, you know what, let me actually track my hours. And I looked at it and I realized I had worked for $4 an hour. And I was like, oh no. I was like, this is not the right way to go, you know what I mean? And then there was a challenge of figuring out, okay, how do I charge $1,500 for a wedding. And then when I wanted to get out of weddings and I realized I want to try corporate, I was like, okay, well, how do I do that? And that was like a whole nother process, starting all over again. And then every step of the way, from going from $500 corporate video to $1,500 to $5,000 to $10,000 to $50,000, $100,000, it was all like major roadblocks, and being stuck there for like years. You know what I mean? Like literally being stuck there for years in between stages, because I just didn't know how to. I mean, again, nobody was teaching me. And again, every time I leveled up, it was really truly because I had just figured out the right mentality. And so that is also why I started Videography Academy, just because I know that not a lot of people teach this stuff. And so I'm kind of just teaching what I wish I had when I was starting out, and I'm just taking all the lessons and sharing it with you guys now. So okay, let's jump into the business model real quick. So I think a couple of things that I want you to just reset your mind. You already have the tools to succeed. Okay, meaning the fact that you're even on this workshop, you're taking this challenge, that you are putting yourself out there, that means you already have an awareness that you want to grow, and that you're looking for help to grow, right? And so that is actually the first tool that you need in success for anything, because the people that never succeed are the ones that think that they know everything and just don't understand why they're not getting the success that they want. And then those are the people that end up blaming other people, that blame the world, that make excuses for the reasons why they're not where they're at. And that's really just a loser's mentality. You know what I mean? And so just the fact that you are here means you already have the tools to succeed, because you're asking the right questions, which is, how do I get where I want to go? Can I ask somebody for help? Are there resources? And those are the things, that curiosity and that willingness to find solutions to get you to your goal is what it takes to get to your goal, believe it or not. You know, like, it occurred to me a long time ago that the secret to like learning is learning what questions to ask. You know what I mean? Because like, when I first started out, I was like, oh, I don't even know what I don't know. And then it was like, the next step was like, okay, well, what questions do I have to ask to figure out what I don't know? And it was like really almost philosophical. And so I just want you guys, you know, to know that you guys are already a step ahead because you're here, you know. Now, the most important skills that you're going to have to develop to really level up to get to this six-figure mark in your business is sales and project management. Project management is a lot easier than sales, but especially when you start getting like $10,000 clients and up, there are things in project management you have to learn. When I first started out, I was super uncouth and you know, not good at project management, not good at client management, not good at communication. I had a temper. I would get angry all the time for no reason, like stupid reasons. I would think very small-minded about stuff, and then it would translate into my relationships with clients. And so it wasn't until I really learned how to manage a project and manage my clients that it started turning into more referrals and all that stuff. But the first thing is sales anyways, because, you know, my thought process is, you know, if you're kind of like Neil's example, like if you're in a room full of people and you can't rely on Facebook ads or LinkedIn or your social media or whatever, like if you're just in a room full of people, are you going to be able to sell yourself? You know what I mean? Are you going to be able to get to know them in a way that helps you determine if they're the right customer for you or not? Like, those are basic sales skills. And if you can learn those things, that's the foundation of all sales skills, then that will translate into your marketing and your online efforts and stuff. Like, Mark Cuban said that the number one skill for, and not just Mark Cuban, but many successful people said that, the business people have said that the number one skill for, you know, becoming wealthy is sales, you know, because in the end, you're going to be your own salesperson, right? Also, you want to learn how to work with others. That's going to be a big part of leveling up too. I think for me, I was stuck being a solopreneur for a long time. And I think that's a good thing to start off. We all are going to be that way. But as you start leveling up your projects, you're going to need to learn how to work with people, which means finding people to work with, hiring them, managing them, communicating, all that good stuff. And then next thing is, like, you want to be humble and realistic. So you want to be, I think everybody here, from what I heard, already has that kind of mentality, which is great. You know, you just want to know that, you know, you are on a journey and that you're going to be somewhere else eventually, but you are where you're at. And be realistic about your goals. Like, instead of saying, oh, I'm going to make $1 million this month, you know, if you haven't even made 10,000, it's like, it's not realistic. You know what I mean?
So I have a quick question, Henry.
Yeah, go for it.
So, you know, I just started talking to new clients about commercial companies, right?
Mhm.
And I've experienced my first jitter, or like nervousness, like I was talking to a e-bike company, right?
Mhm.
And then I prepped myself, you know, I know what I'm gonna say to this guy, and I kind of studied their company a little bit, right? I get there, I started talking, I started getting too comfortable, and I started stuttering. And I was like, how do you prep?
Well, I mean, that's something we can definitely address in the sales system or sales process. So definitely save that question. But a lot of it's through repetition and through changing your mentality on sales.
Practice.
It's practice, and also not caring about the outcome as much. It's just,
Right.
you know, when I was first starting, and believe me, I was bad. Believe me, I was real bad. And I would get really nervous. I would get sweaty palms, all that stuff. And then I told myself, I was like, you know what? Obviously, if I'm getting this nervous, I'm not a master. So I'm just in the process of learning, and
Right.
even though it might hurt, this is just part of the learning process. So like, even if I fail, it's just going to be all learning. Like, I'm going to learn something from it. And that's really what I did. It's kind of like when I started skateboarding like late, like I was in my 20s, right? And I'll go to skate park, I'd be like older than everybody, and I would suck. Like, I couldn't ollie, I couldn't do anything. And it's like really embarrassing. And it made me not want to do it. And then I realized, you know what? Everybody has to start somewhere. I don't care what people think about me.
Right,
I'm just
right.
in the process of learning. And that's really the way to think about it. And that actually brings me to the next point, is that you can need to reset your mind for learning mode. Okay. Now, I know we talked about our goals, our financial goals. This is just more for me to figure out where you're at and be able to gauge like how to get you there. But for you guys that are here listening, you need to reset your mind for learning mode, because the faster you learn, the faster you're going to earn. Okay. And it's kind of like Warren Buffett says, the more you learn, the more you earn. Right. So you really need to reset your mind for learning mode, because you're kind of like going back to school. Like, you're in the stage where you need to learn before you can apply. And the more that you focus on the learning stage, the better and smoother it's going to be when you're applying. Right. Does that make sense?
Like
Also,
pre-production.
yeah, exactly. It is, you know, I love that. That's a great analogy. We're literally in the pre-production phase of building your business. You know what I mean? Like, and as anybody knows, the more effort you put into pre-production, the more fun and the more easy it is to execute your production, right? The people who are most prepared before production have less stress during production. And then know your goal. Like, just know your goal, which is, there's a financial goal, but also I want you guys to make an internal goal for what, you know, picturing yourself in terms of your emotions and your kind of self-image and self worth, in terms of how you're going to feel once you have achieved these goals, right? Like, once you've learned these things and you're able to have, like, imagine, just take a moment to imagine when you have a steady sales system where you know exactly how to sell, exactly how to find clients, how to talk to them, how to close them, how to create proposals, and you have consistent work coming in. Like, imagine how you're going to feel. You're going to be a lot more comfortable in your skin, and you're going to be a lot more confident just in general when you go out throughout the day. You know what I mean? Like, for me, I used to hate sales, and when I hated sales, I was not good at it, right? Because I had a negative relationship with it. And then when I kind of started learning how I want to do sales, right, which is more authentic to who I am, and I started getting good at it, now, like, I love being in a sales situation. Like, I love being in front of people that are interested in potentially hiring me, because that's a new relationship I'm going to build, and a new experience I'm going to have, and money that I'm going to get. So I love it, you know. Also, I want you to know your story. Now, this is something that I haven't talked about a lot in the past, but I think is really important. The more that I think about it, is like, in the end, we're all living our own stories, right? Like, we're part of a global community, but in the end, like, we're the ones who have to live with ourselves every day. And you have to know what your story is, meaning, how did you get where you are today? Right? Like, everything that you did, everything that happened to you, and every decision you made led you to this moment right now where you're at. Okay. And I actually think a great exercise for you to do would be to sit down and write your story out. So I'm going to make that an action item, is to write your story. And the reason why is, there was a time period when I was struggling really, really bad. So basically, I had worked for my dad for like almost 6 years. It was a fishing and tackle business. And, you know, we started it right before there was a recession in 2009. And what happened was, you know, he put all of his money into buying that business. I ended up putting all my savings into that business. you know, it was really good the first year, and then the recession hit, and then fishing, like sport fishing, which is very expensive, became like an immediate casualty to that recession, because like people aren't going to spend hundreds of dollars a day when they're like having a lot of uncertainty with their finances, right? And so, and on top of that, there was like just environmental disasters where like fish weren't coming in. There's a lot of things that happened that basically the business went to essentially zero. And we struggled for like, you know, another 5 years. And, you know, when so, and also we were working ourselves to death. Like I'm literally working ourselves to death. We were working 80 to 100 hours a week, every week, for 5 years straight. I had not even one weekend off for 5 years, if you could imagine that, like 7 days a week. My dad had a heart attack while he was working there. And it got to the point where like literally every day I'm coming in like afraid that I'm going to find him like dead, you know? And it was crazy. And so finally I convinced him to sell the business at a, you know, basically breaking even, where, you know, he was able to pay off his debt, but we really, like, it's not like we made money off of it. And, you know, at the time, this is 2013, I agreed to take on, you know, the responsibilities of, you know, paying for my mom's expenses and things like that. And, you know, also what had happened was, before that time period, I had my own video business, videography. And I was already actually I had hit 6 figures before then. But during that time period when I worked for him, I couldn't do any video work. I made a couple short films, but I didn't do any video work. And the DSLR revolution happened in between. So my portfolio went from whatever it was to like complete shit, because I was shooting on like 3 CCD cameras like before, right? So it was like really bad, you know, like it was unusable, right? Like, and so I was literally starting from zero, like no money in the bank, no video portfolio, no clients, no relationships, other than, you know, my friends and my network, and my filmmaking relationships. And then so my parents were really worried, and they were like, you know, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to support the family? And I just lied. I said that I had got a job. And I was determined to start my own video business again, because I thought if I did it once, I could do it again. But it was also extremely stressful, because it was like also literally like I need to generate income immediately from month 1. You know what I mean? So like for 3 months, I would wake up at like 8 a.m. and put on clothes as if I'm going to work, and then go like pretend that I'm leaving for a job. And then I would go to like a hotel and work in the lobby wherever I could get free Wi-Fi, you know, and like my lunches were literally like the leftover cup of noodles and like granola bars and stuff that was in our shop when we sold it. So I just like, I would drive around for 3 months. I drove around for 3 months with a car full of food in the trunk. That was my lunch. And then, you know, and I was scraping by, barely making it every month. And then I ended up talking my way into getting like a full-time job doing video for a startup, because I was so desperate. I was like, you know what, I just need some sort of steady income. Initially, they had came in to talk to me about hiring me for one video project, and I just talked my way into, you know, getting a full-time position. But it was just barely enough money to pay the rent and expenses, and definitely nothing left over for me. So like, you know, I was literally like eating for lunch. I was eating like peanut butter, you know, like, cause they were in the kitchen, they had a little kitchen, they would have like condiments, no bread, just like literally I would scoop out peanut butter and put it on a plate and like eat it until I had like a stomach ache, you know what I mean? And it was like the lowest I'd ever been, you know, like I was so depressed, I was so upset at myself, I felt like a failure and all this stuff. And then finally, you know, it occurred to me, like I was looking at these other people who are really successful, you know, because I try to learn from other people. And you know, my friend actually told me a story about Stephen King, about how he was in a very similar situation where he really wanted to be a writer. He had a wife and a kid actually, and they're like, I think they were like living in a trailer park or something. Like they were super poor, right? And he refused to get a job. Like he would rather put his own family on the line than give up his dream, right? And so he ended up becoming a successful writer. But you know, what occurred to me from that story is that when you look at people who are successful, every single person who tries to achieve something in their life, we're all faced with the similar challenges, and we all have setbacks. And the reason why we talk about people who are successful is because those are the people that didn't stop. The only difference between failure and success is, did you get up again, right? Like the people who are successful are the ones that just tried again, that got up again. It's just like they say, if you get knocked down 5 times, get up 6. You know what I mean? And I think that's the real difference between success and failure. But also what happened to me is to kind of mentally put myself in a better place, is I just told myself, I was like, you know what? I'm eating peanut butter right now for lunch, but instead of letting this make me depressed and want to quit, like I'm just going to remind myself that this is just going to be a story that I'm going to tell someday. You know what I mean? Like when I make it, when I'm successful, it's just going to be a story that I tell. And so that kind of helped put it in perspective, where it made me realize that there's a longer journey that we're on. You know what I mean? And so if you can reframe where you're at now, then it'll help you get further along in that journey. Because I think a lot of times we look at the results in our lives and we judge ourselves for it. But you have to remind yourself that that's just part of the journey. It's like if Frodo had quit in the first film, he would have never got to the end, right? Like he had to keep going and keep walking, and that's part of the journey. But it's easy to get caught up with where you're at. So that's why I just want you to, know your story, like know where you're at now. Literally trace it. This is actually an exercise I did for myself, is I literally, from my earliest childhood memory, I just wrote down what are the key points in my life and the key decisions that I made, or the key decisions or things that happened to me. And it helps put in perspective, you know what I mean? Because you're going to look back and you're going to be a little surprised at some of the things you did that were really awesome, and some of the things that maybe that aren't as awesome, that you're still going despite them. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to know your story, because it helps keep you grounded, and it reminds you that in the end, we're trying to build a business. We're trying to, do something with our careers and create a lifestyle for ourselves. And the more that you can contextualize where you're at, then the easier it is for you to move forward. And by the way, I just realized it is a story that I end up telling later, because I just told it. Right? So I was right. And so I just want you all to know that I've been there. I've struggled quite incredibly, but from 2013, from starting from zero, right, from eating peanut butter for lunch, to 2018, I did like $1 million commercial production. You know what I mean? And so this is from somebody who just did wedding videos and corporate videos and had no real experience in sales and marketing and any of that stuff. And so if I could do it, you guys could definitely do it. All right. So now mentality.
Awesome story, by the way.
Oh, go ahead. What'd you say?
Awesome story, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, it was it was important. Like I said, every time I've made breakthroughs in life, it's because I managed to find the right mentality, whatever that mentality is. And sometimes it's because somebody told me, and sometimes it's because I just kind of figured it out, deduced it on my own, or theorized. But number one mentality tip that I want you guys to take for this challenge, especially and moving forward, your best is the new normal. Okay? Whatever you did yesterday, and whatever level of effort you've been putting in up till now, is not the same level of effort that's going to get you to the next place. Okay? Whatever you did yesterday is not good enough for tomorrow. That's just the fact. Because if you just keep doing what you did yesterday, you're going to keep getting yesterday's results. Does that make sense? So your best is your new normal. And the reason why that is going to propel you into success is that you get comfortable with that, and then you move it to the next level, and then you get comfortable with that, and then you move it to the next level. Now, you don't need to be like a Michael Jordan, like crazy machine right now. What I'm saying is whatever you can do at your best now is going to be the new normal. And the more that you tell yourself that, the more that you make that your standard, the more success you're going to get. Because one thing that I realized personally is that in life, nobody gets what they deserve. Okay? Nobody gets what they deserve. You get what you accept. Okay? People, there's terrible people out there that make millions of dollars, right? And then there's really great people out there that make nothing. There is no rhyme or reason to that other than you get what you accept, because you set the standard for yourself, and then whatever standard you set is going to be what you end up getting. Okay? It's like that in relationships, it's like that in life, and it's definitely like that in business. So I want you to mentally reprogram yourself every day to tell yourself that my best is my new normal. That whatever you can do at your best level of effort is going to be the new minimum level of effort that you give. Okay? And it's a process, you know, you do it, you kind of go up and down, but the point is that if you make that your mentality, then what happens is subconsciously you start trying to live up to it, because our brains are very easy to program. And unfortunately, we've been pre-programmed by a lot of bad information and a lot of bad knowledge, right? But the more that you start feeding into your brain the right programming, then you're going to actually subconsciously figure out how to get there. That's just the way it works. So I just want you to remind yourself of that, okay? All right, so a brief overview of what it takes to get the job done. Obviously, technical skills, obviously creative ability, definitely business management, and then sales and marketing, and then also having a personal life. How do you keep some balance and stay happy with what you're doing? Okay, you can look through that later if you want. All right, so I think we've defined our challenge goals overall. You know, most people are making a certain amount of money per month, which is fine. Or maybe it's just, you know, like Tim said, just being able to learn and be comfortable and just kind of build a foundation of that. Now, what we want to do though is we want to reach any level of success. You want to pick a smaller goal so that you can get to the bigger goal, right? So I'm going to give you a 30-day challenge goal, which is a very small goal, right? I want you to actually make the goal small. Because here's another thing that I learned, and I learned this from reading in a book too, is when you set a goal that's unrealistic for yourself, then when you don't hit the goal, you become discouraged. And it's not like you tell yourself good reasons why you didn't hit the goal. It just becomes a self-judgment. Versus if you make the goal really small, even if you know it's small, when you hit that goal, then all of a sudden you feel more confident and you feel more energy. So for instance, like, you know, if you want to exercise, instead of trying to do 100 push-ups, like you could literally make the goal 1 push-up. And then you do 1 push-up and you feel kind of stupid, but then you also feel kind of good because you're like, well, at least I did that one that I said I would. You know what I mean? Because what it is you're training your brain to accept the fact that when you set a goal, you do it. You see what I mean? And even if that's tiny. And so I'll let you guys think about that. You don't have to know it right now, but you could figure out what is the one goal you could have by the end of the 30 days that if you're really going to put your effort into it, what is something that is going to be. And for instance, you know, in number 3, I put level up on a specific skill because I don't want it to just be financially oriented in 30 days. Maybe you need more than 30 days for that, but you know, it could just be like, hey, I want to be able to know the sales process and be able to explain it to anybody that asks me, right? I just want to know what my cold outreach system is going to be and my sales system is going to be so I could start executing it. You know what I mean? Or I just want to reach out to, you know, 20 clients, cold message them by the end of the month and then see what happens there. You know what I mean? So you don't have to tie your goal to like a financial or a numerical value because it's really up to you. You know what I mean? If people are more comfortable with sales and they've been doing it, then yeah, then maybe pick a number goal. Like I want to land a, you know, my first paying job, or I want to land a $1,500 job, or 500, whatever it is. Next, what you're going to do, which is another action item, is you're going to write your goal on 3 Post-its. Okay. Now you have to do this. Okay. Everything I'm telling you to do, if it makes it easier for you, just surrender yourself and just trust the process and just do it. Okay. Like, just surrender yourself, because also what happens is, like, when you're starting new things and you're doing things that you've never done, there's a subconscious part of you that resists, because change is like scary and takes effort, and you resist and you start putting up roadblocks for yourself. Like, oh, that's not for me. I don't need to do that. You know, I could remember on my own, all this stuff, whatever. You can make up your own excuses. But everything that I'm teaching here, again, remember, this is all literally built off of me failing over and over again and figuring out how to be successful. And all of these action items have actual ties to your psychology and the way that your brain works and what it takes to be successful. Okay, like, everything that I'm asking you to do has an actual reason behind it, and there's a purpose. It's not just for the heck of it. So what you're going to do is you're going to write your goal on 3 Post-its. You're going to put one on your dresser, you know, the area where you have your keys, right? Everything that you have before you walk out the door, you're going to put that goal there, because I want you to see it before you leave and go out into the world. I want you to put it on your bathroom mirror, so every time in the morning when you walk into the bathroom, you see that goal. Okay. And then if you have a car, put it in your dashboard, right? Put it in somewhere where if you notice, what I'm doing is I'm having you put it in places that you look at often without thinking, right? Yes, if you want a gaff tape, go for it. Just don't strip the paint off of whatever you're putting it on. But a bonus is you could put your goal on your phone lock screen. So for instance, I gave myself a $15,000 goal for the month in terms of sales for my course, right? So that every time I look at my phone, it's looking at me. So the wall behind your computer, I actually have literally on the bottom of my monitor is just a sentence I wrote, which is, I'm committed to excellence and discipline. And so you want to start putting these reminders wherever you look, because again, you're teaching your mind to accept a new normal, and then subconsciously you're going to start figuring out how to get there. And consciously what happens is you start seeking out the information to get to that goal. You know what I mean? You're going to start Googling differently. You're going to start researching, spending your time on YouTube differently. It's going to all start affecting the way that you behave. So these are 2 action items, which is number 1, write your story. Number 2, write your goal, and put that on a 3 Post-its at least. Okay. Any questions about that before we move on? Good. You guys clear? I think it's pretty clear. All right. So now let's jump into the wait, I'm missing something here. Sorry, one second. Missing something. Business model.
I just want to say, love the use of Canva. That's an Australian invention.
Yes, Canva is incredible. It's changed my life. The woman is the founder. I think the founding team is Australian.
Yeah, they made it for yearbooks, and then they went off to Silicon Valley and said, hey, we could put this here as well.
Yeah, now they're like $1 billion company, and they're taking over the world. They cracked the code on design for. They're probably one of Australia's best examples of a startup being successful.
I signed up for it like 2 or 3 weeks ago to make my sales pitch and like my sales deck and stuff, because I was going through the course, Henry's course, and he was like, yeah, having a sales deck and sales pitch and all that. And I signed up for Canva,
Yeah.
and I was like blown. I was like, why did I not sign up for this long ago?
Crazy.
This program's amazing.
I mean, I've done literally hundreds of thousands of dollars of proposals on Canva, and people have commented to me that it's actually even increased the business verticals that I've been into, or services I could offer. And people are just blown away, and they're like, oh my God, this is incredible. And, you know, I turn around so quickly and all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, yeah, should I tell you that I did this on a free software? I don't know.
Yeah, before I was doing it all in Photoshop and
Right.
like making everything by hand. And then so I remember hearing about Canva, but for some reason I thought like you had to pay for it regardless. Like I thought it was like a monthly subscription.
Yeah.
And I went through, and again, after your course, I signed up for it. I was like, I built my my company's pitch deck in like under 5 minutes. And I was like,
That's crazy.
I was like, making one slide in Photoshop was taking me 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, not only that, they have all the design templates for you, so you could just literally pick.
Yeah,
it
became drag and drop and just changing. It's completely not. I mean, I wouldn't say it's changed my business so far because I'm still I'm here for a reason, but it's definitely become a huge tool in my arsenal of like I use it for all my pitches and everything now. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
And I know people that don't want to pay for premium templates and all that. They use it anyway, then just screenshot it and then recreate in Photoshop.
Yeah, there's ways to hack it for sure.
How much is the premium for the Canva?
I think it's only like $10 a month.
Yeah, I think it's like around $10 a month. But even the free version, like they've got a ton of free templates. You can export it out as a JPEG or as a PDF for free. Like
honestly, I'm on the free version. Like I only upgrade when I have to. Like I'll do like a month at a time upgrading, and but for the most part, it's the free version is already.
I'm definitely gonna check that out.
Yeah, if anybody is not signed up for it, I can't recommend it highly enough to sign up. Like it will make parts of your life and your business 1,000 times easier and faster, and it'll look amazing.
Wow.
All right, so
the truth.
I don't know why. I'm so sorry. I don't know why my actual slide deck has disappeared. But I'm just gonna go ahead and use the course and speed through it to show you. So I wanted you to wrap your head around the business that you're creating now. Okay, so now let's get in. Now we've kind of went over mentality to set ourselves, but let's really dive into the nuts and bolts. Okay, so basically, what you want is 1 to 10 projects a month. Okay, so whatever your financial goal is, the less projects, the more that the projects have to be worth. And ideally, if you can get 3 to 5 clients a month, you're going to make well over whatever your goal is. Okay, so you want to kind of, you know, I don't even have 10 clients a month to be honest. That's a lot for me. You know, you could do 10 if you're doing like really easy packages, like if it's like a social media clip that takes you like no time to do, that you could even outsource and you could do it online, whatever, that kind of thing. But in general, it's going to be you know, 3 to 5 clients a month. Now, the types of projects you could do, there's so many. I mean, obviously social media content, you could do brand videos, product commercials, product demos, testimonials. You could create video proposals for people, like video business cards and stuff. You could create educational content, like you could help people make workshops, online courses. You could do straight up commercials, explainer videos, sizzle reels for people behind the scenes stuff, like documentary projects, webisodes. You could create sales funnels for people. You could make viral videos. Viral videos is I put on the last on the list because it's really hard to make a viral video, so I don't usually recommend.
I have a question regarding digital products. I know that you can sell LUTs, and in a similar way, you can export project files with After Effects or somehow transition packs for Premiere Pro. Is there value in creating something like that as a digital product?
Yeah, but you want to remind yourself that like, who's your client, right? Like who buys that? That's other filmmakers buy that. So
Yeah.
is your client base other filmmakers, or is it going to be businesses, right? Now you could
Okay.
make it for businesses if they, for instance, have an internal video team that, you know, you can offer that as another product, and it wouldn't, since that's such a low effort product to create, it doesn't hurt to create those things and have it on your website. I mean, that kind of goes into later. We're going to talk about other ways to make money and stuff, but you always want to think for your efforts, are you helping somebody that is in your target audience? You know what I mean?
Okay. So probably best not to dilute myself as a
Not in the
brand.
beginning. Look, one thing, so I've helped a lot of people now, and I do one-on-one coaching, and what I've learned, the difference between the people who are really successful and not that successful so far has just been the ability to focus. And the more that you focus on the right thing and execute, the more successful you're going to be. For instance, you know, one of my students, she decided to focus on just two niches, which is startups and universities. And so we started testing both at the same time. But she was very consistent about reaching out, cold messaging, and reaching out to those two niches, and completely ignoring the other stuff that she had started and people reaching out to her to do other types of work. And because she stayed focused, she was able to pay off her coaching fee in the first, like within the first 90 days. Like she literally paid off the coaching fee before she finished paying the coaching fee. I was like, okay, I need to raise my prices. No, but in all seriousness, like it's all focus, you know what I mean? And I just helped another person right now. We created a proposal for $100,000 job, and that came from him really focusing on his vertical. And so that's what we're going to get into in the niches, but I just want to remind you, like, focus is king. Like, especially in a world where everybody's distracted and technology fragments our mind and our behavior, the people who are more focused actually excel and stand out way beyond other people that are trying to do too many things at once. All right, so now what we're trying to do is we're trying to get people to sign up for between $500 to $10,000 per project. Now, this could be for single videos or packages, right? So a package option could be like different products that you're offering, which we're going to go over the product offerings, because some clients will need more than one video as a solution for what they need. And what we're going to do is we're going to train you to think in terms of being solution oriented for your client, and then letting your services and offerings be dictated by that solution. Does that make sense? Instead of trying to go to people and say, hey, you need this one video and this is the video you need, and trying to like ram that down their throats, you actually want to build a relationship, and you want to ask questions and get to know them. And then you're going to, it's like a doctor, you're going to diagnose their problem, and then you're going to give them the right prescription and the right system for them to be successful. You can offer special deals in the beginning to get your clients if you guys don't have the ball rolling very well yet, which we'll go over in sales. And then you can also do the consulting model, but to be honest, the consulting model takes more experience and knowledge in different areas of not just your video. And so I recommend adding that a little bit later, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to put yourself into a situation where you're not going to be able to execute, because a consultant has to know quite a bit of stuff. Okay, and then I think that's it for that. Okay, so a couple things real quickly. So when you're starting out, you're going to have to know what your day rate is. Okay. Just because you are going to get people that are going to ask you what your day rate is, and you know, if you don't know, then you're going to have some problems, because you can't hesitate. So in general, day rates usually go from anywhere, I would say, from $350 to like $800 to $1,200, depending on your experience level. So like in the Bay Area, $800 is considered a standard full day rate for shooting, right? $1,200 is like a standard day rate for like a really like a pretty experienced DP. You know, I think in the end, what you want to do is you want to calculate your potential day rate divided by 10 hours, and you make that, and you look at that, and you ask yourself, are you happy with that, right? So I think a videographer should charge maybe anywhere between $25 to $50 an hour, let's say, even if you're just starting out, right? So that means your day rate's going to be between $250 to $500 for a day, I would say. You could pick the day rate that you're comfortable with right now, but I'm not even going to teach you to get jobs that are based on day rates. So I just want you to start there and know what your day rate is in case somebody asks you, because you don't want to be like, I don't know what do you have? And then they're gonna be like, okay, you're not experienced.
Quick question
Yeah.
on that.
Huh?
Quick question on that.
Yeah.
I've heard and wanted to get your take about when it comes to day rates, about having two different day rates, one for if it's just you, and second, one is if it includes your gear.
So that's a kit rate. So you can add a separate kit rate, which can help you with getting clients. Because, for instance, the reason why you still need your day rate though is because what you don't want your day rate to include your kit, and then somebody says, oh, I don't need your camera, what is it just for you to shoot? And then now you've reduced your day rate because of that. So you always want to add the kit rate after the fact. So, you know, I would say kit rates can be anywhere from 120 to like $500, you know. If you're in the beginning range, I would charge like 120, 150, let's say, for your kit. Because if you just have like a DSLR, a gimbal, and a lav mic or something, that's not a really fantastic kit. You know, it's basic. So your kit rate should reflect a little bit like the quality of the gear that you have. If you have like a Blackmagic Ursa or a Red or something, then obviously your kit rate's going to go up. Or if you're also coming with like sliders and lighting and stuff like that, then that would change that. Okay. Now these numbers, this is very subjective. I just wrote this based on what I thought it was and my journey. But I think a beginning, complete noob, a very beginner, is going to basically be free or for trade. And I think this is a little bit too low now. You could maybe say up to like 250 or something like that. That's like literally if you have no experience, like you've never shot anything before. So I don't think anybody here is really that person. But in the beginning rate, in the very beginning, then you're probably going to be again going to $20 to $50 an hour, which means that it could be $200 to $500 per project or something like that. For shooting, let's say, for a full day, but a lot of times you include the editing to just get the job done. Now I think that we're going to be more pursuing this intermediate range where we're going to go for $1,000 to $1,500 projects, and then depending on the quality of client that you're talking to, those numbers can jump up quite a bit. And we'll see how that works. You know what I mean? But I do think that if you're going to go out and shoot and edit, you should be charging at least $1,000 for that. And it does depend on your market a little bit. But, assuming that if you're going to shoot for a day and then editing takes the equivalent hours of a day or maybe up to 2 days, then yeah, you should be charging $1,000 to $1,500. Especially because we're going to be focusing on getting clients who have that ability to pay, and you're going to be adding value to them. Now, advanced videographers are charging $10,000 plus per project. Like if somebody calls me and they want to do a job, like I never give them a rate off the bat, but because you have to find out what is entailed in the project. But I do tell them, I disclaim, I'm like, usually I don't do anything for less than 10,000. Like I don't.
Henry, quick question.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of weddings, but I've only done maybe. Right now, I've only shot, say 1, 2, 3, like four commercials now. With my wedding rate, day rate, how do I compare that to my commercial
Well, it should
rate
be about this.
experience?
It should be about the same, but the reality is if you have no commercial work, you are starting from scratch again because
Yeah.
honestly, you could literally be an award-winning videographer and a corporate client will not give a shit. They don't care. They don't care. So now that doesn't mean that you should just go back to doing free work, but what I'm saying is you're gonna have to pay some dues a little bit, or you're gonna have to finagle some deals to get those first couple corporate clients. Because usually, in my experience, you need at least 2 or 3 solid projects in your niche before you can start really raising your rates.
Gotcha.
So you're gonna kind of like everybody here is gonna be in this, or not everybody, but a lot of people here are gonna be in this period where they're gonna just have to treat the first, half of the year or maybe quarter or something like that as focusing on building the portfolio to justify charging the higher rates. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And then obviously if you're charging 100K or more for a job, then now you're in the agency expert enterprise level where you're not just talking to people about, doing a video, but you're talking about a lot more about their actual campaign, and you get to know more about marketing and all that stuff.
Just a quick,
go ahead.
Sorry, just a quick question on portfolios. In the questionnaire you had us fill out, you did ask us for our website / portfolio if we have one. So is that something that's going to be somewhat covered in a later date?
I'm sorry, repeat that again.
So you mentioned that the first quarter to maybe 6 months of this year would just be building portfolio. And in the questionnaire you gave us to fill out the other day, you also wanted a link to our website and portfolio if we already have any. So is there?
Yeah, so it depends on where you're at. That's why I'm going to look at everybody's portfolio and you figure out for yourself.
Cool. Thank you.
No worries.
Can I also ask a quick question?
Sure.
Yeah, just regarding to the portfolio, and I get the niche thing, but what if you have like short films kind of thing, like narrative, which it's a bit more production heavy, I guess, or something. Should I slip them in or just ignore them?
I would slip it in. If it could look like it's for a commercial project, I would slip it in there. Or, you could separate it and just label it as like narrative storytelling. And then that way, when you're mentioning it to somebody, you could say, look, like I'm, clearly capable of creating this at the level that you need, The only challenge is that what I learned is clients have no imagination. So even if you showed, like, as in the past, I've done like really amazing looking short films and corporate clients don't give a shit. Like I send it to people and they're like, oh, good job. Okay, now what about the video where you shoot a refrigerator? Can you show me that? And it's like, oh, I don't have that one right now. So in the end, like I would slip it in your reel if possible. And then either way, anything that looks visually good is going to be good for your reel, right?
Okay.
Wait, now what I want you to do is you also have to figure out how to charge flat rates for videos. I'm gonna teach you tactics to get higher rates out of clients, but you also have to know how to fairly estimate a project rate internally, because you also need to know when to walk away, right? Because the biggest mistake I made in the beginning parts of my career was saying yes to everything and then really regretting it sometimes, right? Because I'm just like desperate to get a job, and then like and in the beginning, look, when you're starting out, maybe you take whatever you can. That's part of the learning process. But as you mature and as you grow, there's a point where you realize that, oh, if I wasn't spending so much time on this damn project that's not paying me enough, I could actually use that same time to go out and get a higher paying job. So now I really think about my time as my currency, and I think about all the opportunity I lose when I spend my time on something that's not winning, if that makes sense. So you just have to create a base rate, project rate, because you also have to be able to figure out, like, is this client realistic? Because sometimes they're going to ask you to do something that is insane, and you have to walk away because that's a bad sign. So the way that you figure out a project base rate is very simple. Is it literally your day rate times the amount of days required to finish a project? That's your base rate. So again, so if as an example, let's say my day rate was 150 bucks. A restaurant, they hired me to make a video. If it's a day to shoot, 2 days to edit, and then maybe another day for finishing touches, right? That's a total of 4 days. I'll multiply that. That's $600. So then if they came to me and they're like, hey, our budget is 150, then I would say, you know what? That's not worth it, because I know I'm going to spend 4 days on this thing. So why would I take 1/4 of that rate? So that's where, you know, having a base project rate is a way for you to gauge if a client is potentially worth your time or not, because that's really what you want to figure out. Okay, so you've already talked about your monetary goals. What is this? Oh, so in the course, there's a spreadsheet with different product offerings that you can make. So it's literally the type of video, a description of what the video is, and then also a feature of like what elements go in the video, if that makes sense. And then on top of that, I also gave you what benefit that the video gives to your client, so that when you're looking at somebody, you could tell them, oh, like, you know what, if you get a product testimonial, we're going to interview key customers about how good your product or service is. We're going to get key sound bites talking about benefits experience from them. It's going to increase your leads and sales and build your authority. Boom, right there. You just literally sold a testimonial, right? Or if it's like a behind the scenes video, then I'll say, okay, well, behind the scenes video is a highlight reel of the inner workings of your brand, an event, or other process. We're going to get beauty shots, we're going to get key sound bites, and we're going to get testimonials from the day of. It's going to build your brand perception. It's going to build your brand value, therefore, and it could also build your company culture, right? So I'm literally breaking it down for you guys. What are the features and benefits for a different product? And then as you start to talk to people, you start being able to figure out which depending on what their goal is and where they're at, if they want to get leads or sales, then you're going to look at these products that offer leads or sales. If they just want to look cool, brand perception, then you can offer this stuff. You could do a mix of things. So this is like really important for you guys to start to wrap your head around, because you have video production skills, you have editing skills, and then what really matters is how do you configure them for your clients in a way that adds value to them. By the way, are you guys familiar with what a feature and a benefit is, the difference? So the difference is, a feature is how the thing works or what it does, okay? But the benefit is different, because the benefit is how does your life change because of the feature, right? So for instance, if I were to get a, like I have this toothbrush, which is made with really soft, like bristles. And so the feature is soft bristles, but the benefit is that my gums will be less damaged and they'll last longer, right? Or, you know, let's say if somebody is promoting like an exercise system and the feature is, you know, 25 weeks of a guided, you know, workout plan plus a nutrition plan. Those are all just features, but the benefit is at the end, I'm going to feel better about myself. I'm going to look better, and I'm going to be more healthy, right? So again, the benefit is what does it do for you after the fact? The feature is just a feature. You know, if you look at like a Mercedes or a BMW, they have all these features, right? Like, you know, traction control, leather seats, the car freaking, you know, strokes you while you're driving. What is the benefit? You feel like $1 million. You feel good about yourself. You feel important. You feel successful, right? You show people that you are. So the reason why I'm bringing attention to that is a lot of times beginning salespeople, they're just selling the features of their what they're doing, but really people don't buy features, they buy benefits. Okay. So every time you're selling something, if you're not connecting the dots to what benefit they're going to get later, then they're not going to buy it. It's as simple as that. Now, one thing I want to talk about real quick, and by the way, this thing is downloadable, so you can go ahead and download this thing. Yeah, it's a spreadsheet. one thing I want to talk about, which is how to double your income. Now this is the craziest formula. I figured it out on my own, and I've had people tell me this is very successful for them. It's so simple. You take whatever job that you've done the last, 5 to 10 jobs, whatever. 5 jobs is fine. Maybe 3 to 5. And then the next person you talk to, you just literally double your rate. So if you did 3 videos for a restaurant, and then you talk to a 4th restaurant, you just double it when they ask you how much it costs. Okay? You will be shocked at how often people are going to say yes. Often when we're beginning, it's our own mental limitations about our value that keeps us undervaluing ourselves. And also what happens is as you double your rate, eventually you're going to hit a number that is just, that's the limit. Like nobody's going to say yes to it. And then now you know that you've hit the max market rate for that package, right? For that caliber of client, right? And your caliber of work. So I've had, just trust me on it. This is a very simple formula. And again, trust the process. You don't even have to want to say it, but if you've done 3 to 5 videos, let's say in a specific niche, then the next time somebody asks you for the rate, the project rate, you just freaking double it. And then you just sit back and see how they react. That's it. I mean, that's literally the secret to doubling your rates. I remember when I first started that, it was very scary, and you feel very hesitant. But one thing I learned is that when you increase your rates, it forces you to look for different clients to meet your rates, actually. Because I remember I was stuck around the 1,500 mark for quite a while. And I was like, man, how do I get to the 5,000 mark? I was like, how do I do that? What's the difference between a $1,500 client and a $5,000 client? And I found that it wasn't the work, because the quality of work that you execute for a $1,500 job and $5,000 job is actually pretty dang similar. And then I realized it was just finding the client who has more money to pay for it, that's willing to pay that much. So I just, I still remember that moment. I just told myself, I was like, you know what, from now on, when people ask me how much this, it is to do like a corporate video for them, I'm going to say it's $5,000 minimum. And I told myself, like, look, even if I lose jobs to people that don't want to pay that much, I'm just going to live through that pain until I get to the person that says yes. And what I learned is that the person who pays 1,500 and the person who pays 5,000 are actually totally different clients. Like, it just brings you to a different level of client because their expectations of what it costs is different. So, and the other crazy part is the low paying clients are actually more pain in the ass than the high paying clients. Okay.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Do you have any, Mason? Stop real quick. So I have, there's a lot of restaurants in Honolulu, right? And a lot of them are still not, they're still
Struggling. Yeah.
Struggling. Yeah. Sorry. So how do you find, do you have a certain way of finding companies that are doing well, or how do you?
Yeah, I mean,
how do you find those?
Yeah, it's gonna have to be more. This is gonna take some time, but you're gonna have to start doing research on your area of what industries are there, and then who's providing products and services in those industries, and then you figure out who's doing well, or maybe even better because of the pandemic, right? And so when you live in an area that's smaller, or more local, then you're going to have to do more research to figure out what it is. The other thing you can do is you can change your services so that the products you offer are really simple and cheap for you to make and don't take any time. So that way, if they have less money, you're putting in more proportionate effort for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, you're going to have to do research, which we'll definitely start talking about. Now, what I want you to do is I want you guys to, the other action item that we're going to have for this challenge is I want you to write down your day rate and your hourly rate that you're going for. And then you already know your monthly goal. So figure out how much money. If you were trying to quit your job, you could figure out how much money you need to save before you quit. But usually I would say 3 to 6 months of your monthly bills to save before you quit your job. If you want, it does to be extra safe, but you know, if you could afford to quit before, then you go for it. Any questions?
Yeah, I have one. So
Yeah.
reaching out to some places, like I would reach out to like some colleges in this area or some companies.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times their excuse is due to COVID, we're not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree? Because me looking at this from a marketing standpoint, though, do you agree that now is the time to be advertising?
Yeah, I mean, you know, whenever there's a recession, the natural reaction for companies are to contract and shrink their marketing efforts, and that is especially when you know, people are already not used to like advanced marketing, or if they're kind of conservative or old school, you know. So like schools and stuff in general, because of the way that their um, finances work and the way their funding works, they're going to be definitely they're going to be restricting themselves. But I agree that, like, you know, I would make the argument that like now is the time to market, because while other people are retreating, if you don't, then you can actually set yourself up for more success, because you actually are taking advantage of the fact that other people aren't marketing, and then therefore you're getting in front of more people, right?
And so would a good argument too to place in that is, if you look at Apple increased their marketing and their advertising, and they, I think, said increased their sales by 20% throughout the pandemic.
Yeah.
All these other companies, they're going out of business, or they're struggling, or they even went down 20%. But do you think that would be like a good argument, not an argument, but a good like sales pitch as well to add in there, saying, do like
That sales pitch
just
will
look
only
at
work if they
Apple?
feel that they're in the same industry. So
Okay.
what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to find examples of success in the industry that you're trying to stay in, right? So if
Okay.
it's schools, you actually have to find a school that's doing better or well in the pandemic, and then point to what they're doing. And then that way you could say, look, this is why they're successful. And if you don't do it, you're not going to be. The way I would, you know, probably angle a pitch if somebody is resisting, is I would tell them that it's not just about it's time to market more, but it's time to market smart and be effective with your dollars, because they're still going to be conservative and be scared to spend money. So what I would tell them is, look, if you don't market, then your business is only going to get worse, and on top of that, you have an opportunity that you know, other people are retreating, so it'll actually be cheaper for you to market because there's less money going into that marketing. It's less competitive. You have an opportunity to stand out and protect yourself in the long term. But I understand that, you know, because of the situation, you have to be very careful. And so, you know, I would focus on really smart, effective marketing tactics that, like, avoiding like vanity projects, let's say, and then focus on things that are just going to get you new students or new leads or whatever it is that they want. And so if you could kind of communicate to them that, you know, you understand their situation, and then so therefore your solution is actually thoughtful to their situation, right? And that's really what you want to convey to them, because if they feel like you're just pitching them something that isn't reflecting their situation, then they're not going to do it. So you have to always kind of, and in general, in sales, the more that you're able to summarize and quantify the situation that your client is in, the more comfortable they're going to be with you to help them go to the next level.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to interject and say that I was trying to figure out my day and hourly rate about a year ago. Mm-hmm. And I found this really, really good Excel tool where you put in all your personal and then business expenses, and you calculate your monthly nut, which is like the absolute minimum you need to make to maintain what you are on now. Mm-hmm. So I just posted that to the Facebook group if anyone wants to.
Oh, great. Yeah, maybe I could use that and share that in the future with people.
Yeah. It probably needs some modification because it's Australia based, but it should be fine.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Thank you. That's very helpful.
Oh, can I get a follow-up question?
Yeah.
Real quick. During the COVID, the pandemic, I saw a commercial, short commercial for a restaurant, and it was featuring like the.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Hashtag
it was-
dad life. Uh-huh.
So the video was featuring, like the safe handling of, tables, like really having a clean tables, 6 feet apart,
Mhm.
6 feet apart, on restaurants and stuff. And it makes sense for a lot of restaurants that you want to pitch it to, right? And I want to do the same similar project, but what else kind of videos do you see out there that are doing the same?
For the restaurant industry?
Pretty much for any industry that are featuring like the safe COVID thing for their
Yeah,
guests.
I mean, usually it's basically telling people, the either new measures that you've taken to protect, people, ways that or videos where they talk about how they're engaging with the community because they're committed to the community, or new products and services they're offering because of the pandemic, or just updates for their clients and customers and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I've been seeing. So but it does
Okay.
depend on the industry that you're talking to, because it's going to affect based on who their clients are, and then what you're offering. That's going to affect what products and services they're offering to their clients is going to affect what kind of messaging that you would give out. You know what I mean?
Cool.
Good. All right, what else? Any other questions? Okay, cool. Let's keep it moving then. All right, now I want to talk about the difference between